bifurcating ways to answer. The first thing that usually happens in a construction accident, unfortunately, is those typically involve very serious injuries. Guys that are on construction sites are exposed to really particular dangers. So what we see is when those guys get hurt, they typically get hurt bad, either with permanency or long stretches out of work. So the first thing that someone who's injured in a construction accident needs to think about is, how am I going to get my medical bills paid? And what's going to happen in terms of my wages since I can't work? And those questions are answered very, very quickly, very easily. Everybody working on a construction site, as long as they're being paid by check, has workers' compensation insurance. These construction companies are not licensed or not able to work in New York or really anywhere else unless they have insurance certificates. So right off the bat, right away, these guys can make workers' compensation claims, and it matters not whether they were at fault or how it happened. They are immediately entitled to have all of their medical bills covered and all of their wages covered. That is the very first thing that they should think about. Beyond workers' compensation, if you're injured on a construction site, are you entitled to any other compensation? Can you look to hold someone else responsible? And the answer is oftentimes yes. In fact, very oftentimes yes. Most times in New York, strangely, the actual owner of a construction site is legally responsible for the safety of that site, even though it's normally put in the hands of the general contractor. So most workers will have what we call a third party, someone else to look to hold responsible if there was a safety violation at the site, which most of the time when someone gets hurt, there is a violation, because the labor laws, the rules that are in place to protect workers are so strict and so detailed that normally, if they're followed, it prevents almost any kind of injury from happening unless something's not followed or someone was negligent. So in those cases, an injured worker will have the benefit of both being compensated by workers' compensation, so he gets his bills paid and his wages covered, and he has that covered, but he'll also be able to sue that third other responsible party, which oftentimes is the owner, even though the owner thinks he has nothing to do with this, for his injuries. And so that worker can then get compensation for his pain and suffering, or for his future pain and suffering, and for lost wages. So very often workers have actually two types of claims going simultaneously and have two lawyers: a workers' compensation lawyer, who we work with all the time, and a negligence or personal injury lawyer like us. The sad thing is, many times workers, a lot of times they're immigrants, they don't speak English, or just don't have access to good people, don't realize that they have both. And so they may just have a workers' compensation attorney and nothing else. The other really sad thing we see all the time are undocumented workers that are that don't have work papers, or illegal immigrants, or things like that. Oftentimes these guys are too afraid to make either of the claims, and then they do nothing, and that's also wrong. They are in most cases permitted to bring either one or both claims, whether they're paid on or off the books and things like that. There are many, many, many ways to get them properly compensated. And it's really sad. And we've seen it many, many times where guys are just afraid to rock the boat, afraid of what might happen. And so they don't bring a claim that they otherwise have a legal right to bring.